What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. What is going on? The third round of the NFL draft just ended, and I thought, you know what? Let's go in the old office and record a little podcast, record a little reaction to tonight. A story that one day might become a 30 for 30, as someone said in our 3 and out text chain. That I was like, yeah, this is pretty nuts. And we'll just dive right into it. Shedeur Sanders listen, sometimes stories can be overhyped. Like last night, the Shedeur Sanders, I don't watch the ESPN broadcast. I'm an NFL Network guy, so I can't speak to the Mel Kiper never shutting up about it, and I'm pro Mel Kiper. But I did not watch his reaction last night, which by all accounts was pretty aggressive constantly. On a night when all these guys are getting drafted in the first round, like I understand the pushback. Tonight, like it is kind of the story. And when you don't get drafted at all in the second and third round, and countless other quarterbacks who we will dive into, that I think it's fair to say that you were a better prospect than get drafted over you. Like, pretty crazy night. And I'm sure, like many of you, a million texts from countless people about one specific thing. Like, what's going on? How bad is it? Do people really hate him this much? Like, there's no way around it. As we sit here tonight, the NFL does not like this guy. They do not like this guy. Because the tape, like, we've all seen it. We all watched him play. His football was fine. He was good. Now, we could nitpick him. How good was he? He's definitely good enough to be drafted in the top 95, 100 picks. And the interviews, like, the other thing is, you see some of these former players that are up in arms, trying to justify the madness of, like, guys, do you know how many red flag guys were drafted in the first round? Like, countless. Do you know how many guys tonight with massive red flags got drafted tonight? The Baltimore Ravens drafted a guy who was accused of sexual assault in high school and college. And they went to Rap Sheet after the pick, and he's like, yeah, a lot of teams were not comfortable with his answers when asked and pressed about these situations during the process. He was not on their draft board. A lot of guys that get drafted all over the league, not on draft boards. And these are like criminal, legitimate things off the field that should terrify you. And teams are like, you know what? Great inside move, can get to the passer, good enough value, draft him now. So it gets to the point of whatever they think and whatever happened between the season ending, which for Colorado was at the end of December, to now, during the draft process, the Senior Bowl, I guess he went to the East-West game, but the combine, the personal interactions and interviews couldn't have been a bigger disaster. And it's been reported on. I honestly never really dug into it because I didn't really care that much. Plus, I didn't think it was going to be that big a deal because most stuff isn't that big a deal if you're a good player. They will overlook criminal fucking activity if you can play. They literally did tonight and last night. Red flags all over the place. Like, this guy can set the edge. This guy can protect our quarterback. This guy can score touchdowns. You know why? Because most of these guys, when they go into an interview situation, just like all of us, are on our best behavior. And it had been well reported back at the combine that whatever his interactions were with specific GMs and coaches was a disaster. And now it's not even disputable. Because it was like, the Vegas Raiders, Tom Brady, he's a Shedeur Sanders guy. It felt like they had about 10 picks tonight. I mean, they're drafting small school offensive linemen, random wide receivers. Not random, the TCU kid looks good. But honestly, I kind of like the Raiders draft. But the point is that they had countless opportunities to do it, didn't do it. The Steelers, it's one thing to pass on them in the first round. They take a defensive tackle. They don't have a second round pick. But all we heard, and I've said this over, I believed it. Mike Tomlin loves Shedeur. It's like, yeah, I can see it. It's just Tomlin, Dion, probably buddies, probably known Shedeur for a long time, likes him. They need a quarterback. Then they get the opportunity to draft him in the third round, and they don't. And you're like, this thing's probably over. And now you wonder, like, where's he going to go? Because last year you had 6 guys get drafted in the top 12 picks. None of those teams are an option for him. And then I was thinking you have a bunch of like veteran quarterbacks, right? Guys like Mahomes or Lamar or Herbert or Burrow, or you just go the Jalen Hurts, right? Just all the veteran quarterbacks. Those teams who are going to get to a point like, is there value in this? Do they want to just bring the hoopla that is now behind this? Because now this story went from like an intriguing story in the first round to like a way bigger story now through the second and the third round. I can't tell you the variety of individuals I have gotten text messages about, specifically about this player, which is unheard of. Usually, it's like, "What do you think about so and so's team draft?" Or like, you like what the Raiders did tonight? It's like NFL players, dudes around the NBA, former coaches, current coaches, scouts. I mean, the opinions. Everyone's got an opinion and a thought, and they're all in agreement. The NFL can't stand this guy, and no one can argue that. And listen, I've said over and over, like, I thought he was a pretty good player. I wouldn't say he's Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning, but definitely worthy of a top 100 draft pick, especially in a league where a guy like Tyler Shough, I like Kellen Moore. I'm pro Kellen Moore. I'm rooting for Kellen Moore. Doug Nussmeier, I worked with him back at Fresno State. He's Kellen's right hand man, his offensive coordinator. He's the dad of Garrett, the LSU quarterback. I'm pro the Nussmeier Moore combination. I can't get behind this Tyler Shough pick. I mean, he's older than Brock Purdy, who is a 4-year college starter and who's been a 3-year NFL starter. Like, I'm sorry, the advantage you have, he's been replaced in 2 programs. As someone said on the broadcast tonight, he was a multi-year backup for Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is in like year 2 or 3 of his contract extension in the NFL. So the advantage I have as a 25, 26-year-old of knowledge playing in college football for years, going up against DBs that are 18, 19, 20 years old, yeah, I'm going to look good. I get he throws a nice ball. I'm sorry, I'm out on that draft pick. Now, the dog video was really cool. I'm behind that. But in terms of like thinking that, I don't know, I think that one's insane. The Jalen Milroe pick. Like, you couldn't watch Jalen Milroe this year and think he's a better player than Shedeur Sanders at quarterback. But where does Mike McDonald come from? The Ravens. Who did he have a front row seat for? Lamar Jackson. What was everyone saying a couple weeks ago? Hell, I think even Andrew Berry said it in his press conference last week that Jalen Milroe will be the only guy in the league who's faster than Lamar. And this guy is a freak athlete. And if you just watch the first half of Georgia, he could have been the number 1 overall pick. Now, you can watch other games where he looks like an undrafted free agent. But Mike McDonald, and here's the thing, especially, first and second and third year coaches, they go based off experience of where they previously used to be. I understand that pick. Plus, in the third round, like Malik Willis was a third round pick. Jalen Milroe, clearly high character, good guy. I would imagine interviewed pretty well, and you take a chance. And you're not forcing him to play. Hell, he's their third stringer, right? They got Sam Darnold's their starter, Drew Lock's their backup, and he'll be their third stringer, and they just work with him as a project. Worst case, he's Malik Willis, who actually had a good game this year, but I mean, best case that they can develop him into something. The Dillon Gabriel one with Cleveland is now I don't like necessarily Shedeur and Cleveland either. To me, he's got to be in a good weather dome environment. And I think that for any weak arm or average arm quarterback, and that's what Dillon Gabriel is. When I think Dillon Gabriel, I do not think Cleveland, Ohio, wind pumping, playing the Baltimore Ravens or the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that pick's kind of crazy. And even Rap Sheet, when he came on television tonight, he's like, guys, clearly he had talked to someone in Cleveland, like, get ready. There's a decent chance that Dillon Gabriel is going to be off the board before Shedeur. But I saw Colin go on a rant on his television show today about humility. And I had said something weeks ago when I think Todd McShay had brought up how bad his interviews went. And I had said, this might have been a month or 2 ago, whenever that story first broke. I said, all these guys are used to. Every single scout, every single GM, every single coach, if you've been in the league a while, You have talked to a million prospects, and 99% of them go the same way. Doesn't mean they go well in terms of like you come away, oh, this guy's really smart or this guy loves football or whatever. But most guys are just like we all do in interviews, try to be on our best behavior and just try to be really respectful and just do everything in a positive light. And some of these guys, right, if you've been in trouble, you're getting asked tough questions, it's not a comfortable environment all the time. But guys are just trying to be really good, right? In terms of like, I want them to like me. Why? These are $1 million job opportunities. So I would say most of these situations, especially with quarterback, are all like, really good kid. Can't play, but really good kid. Like him. And you want most of your quarterbacks, and historically they have been, beside the great ones. Now, if you're great, if you're a great player, you can kind of act like however you want to act. Why? Because you're that good. And this is pro sports. And at the end of the day, there are only so many great players. So if I'm Abdul Carter and certain teams want me to come interview and come to 30 visits, and I say, you know what, kiss my ass. I can do that because I'm Abdul Carter. You know where I can't do that? If I'm like a guy that's going to go in the third or fourth round. That's just dumb, bad business. And I think whatever happened with Shedeur, the disconnect between reality and what, like, it's not one team. This is the entire league. And the entire league is clearly really turned off. I didn't see it coming. Honestly, I wasn't even paying attention because I didn't even think this was possible. And now we're sitting at a spot. We're going into Saturday morning. I mean, Mike Florio posted, and honestly, it's not the craziest take. He's lost so much money, and he was clearly making a lot of money at Colorado. That can he figure out a way to go back to school? Now the rules say he's already too far deep; he can't come back. But as Florio wrote, like everyone's suing the NCAA, and they just wilt because they don't want to lose. They just give in, and they lose every lawsuit. So is it the craziest thing? Now, Florio thought he should go back to school and go play for someone other than Dion to try to, I don't know, bump up his stock. Because you don't even need that. Like, Jalen Milroe did not have a good season. Got drafted in the third round. Tyler Shough, not a soul was talking about Tyler Shough up until, like, the combine. Like, you don't even need, like, the crazy part is getting drafted sometimes is not about, like, especially in the second, third round, it's about traits. It's about, and he was played pretty well. So I'm kind of shocked, like most people. I didn't expect him not to get drafted in the second or the third round. I guess maybe I'm naive. Um, maybe I'm, and listen, I don't buy into like all the bullshit you see on TV, but like I've watched football long enough to know what like a second or third round prospect looks like. I thought he'd get drafted in the second round. But clearly, I mean, teams like the Raiders are a good example. They play in a dome. Their pseudo minority owner, Tom Brady, like has a close relationship, like known this guy for a while, and the Raiders brought him in for a visit. Like and Pete Carroll is, I would say, as open minded and liberal with like all the everything that goes on with players as any coach in the league. Well, I'd say Andy's up there. The Chiefs, took a few red flags with their draft picks. But you can do that. It just shows you, like, if people think you can play, they will basically overlook anything. That's the craziest part. Anything. I mean, the amount of guys whose, like, off the field red flags are way worse than anything we've ever heard from Shedeur of just, like, not showing respect to a head coach, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, if you're meeting with people and not doing everything possible as a quarterback to just try to impress them and show that you're a good guy, like, I'd judge you too if I was in their shoes. Like, I don't blame them if that's what happened. And the only people that know about these interactions are these coaches and these GMs, and a couple got out, but it was clearly way worse than we knew. Like, there's no disputing that now. There's just no one can argue that. And I just think that this is one of those stories. Is this one of the worst slides? It's hard to say slides because, like, did he fall out of the first round? Most people didn't have a first round grade on him. But to not get drafted today, I'd say is one of the more eye opening moments in recent memory. I mean, he's on the commercial where he says it's legendary. I wouldn't say getting drafted on Saturday morning when they start going to I mean, think about the stupid stuff they do on Saturday during the draft. It gets real. I love football. I make my living off talking about it. Saturday during the draft can be a difficult watch. It's usually when a lot of coaches and GMs start doing interviews in the middle of the draft. Draft rooms, doors are wide open, people going in and out, eating food. It is much more relaxed. I mean, the first round is like a very stiff night in these buildings. Second round relaxes a little bit. The Saturday is a free for all. I mean, depending on where you are, beers might start coming out in the six rounds. So, if you said what round does he get drafted in tomorrow, John, I'd be like, I don't know. I mean, at this point in time, if you tell me no team drafts him, I'd say that sounds pretty crazy. But how's that not believable at this point? Is he like some lock to get drafted in the fourth round? How could you say that? I mean, third round picks. This was known as one of the worst drafts in recent memory. And maybe it'd be one thing if like no quarterbacks coming off the board, but Jalen Milroe, Dillon Gabriel, and Tyler Shough are flying off the board. So, man, you interview with people. I wonder if he would like to have do overs on that one. And at this point in time, wherever he does end up, assuming that he can't go back to college, talk about the ultimate humble pie. Holy shit. It'll be interesting to see once Dion, because I would imagine, Dion's going to be a hot ticket. People are going to want to talk to him come Monday and Tuesday, whether it's first take, Rich Eisen. People are going to want to get this dude on the horn. People want to get a camera on this guy and get some takes from Deion Sanders. And maybe that's part of it. I mean, I remember like once you get to college football, a lot of college coaches are like, oh, I don't want to talk to your mom and dad bitching about your playing time, right? And that's in college. And now you get to the pros. Now, Deion's obviously I mean, he's one of the greatest players in the history of the sport. I mean, he's one of the greatest athletes in the history of America. So, like, I'm not saying he shouldn't have opinions, but at the end of the day, he is the guy's dad. So it's like, do you want to see this guy's dad bitching and moaning? I would imagine my guess would be he's going to be pretty pissed off. So now if I draft a guy in like the fourth or fifth round, there's like a balance of like, am I getting like a humble, driven, like I want to prove everyone wrong? Or are you getting really like an angry, just like kind of pouty guy? I mean, it's who knows? And that's where I wonder if this thing could snowball and almost get worse. I would imagine it'd be hard. I know the Florio thing going back to college, like at this point in time, it'd be tough to like tuck your tail between your leg and go back to school. The NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for the high stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw dropping plays. Can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through the finals. Now, the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory. All season long, DraftKings has been your go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will Curry drop 30? Will LeBron drop 40? Or more? It's your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, lock in your bets, and let's make the playoff run unforgettable. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Some other stuff happened tonight. It feels like the Shedeur Sanders Friday night. It really does. The Bears, you talk about a team that has done everything humanly possible to support their quarterback. I started thinking tonight, by the time they made their second pick and they took Luther Burden, who's a pretty interesting player, actually, that if you think about it, the Bears fired Eberflus, who's one of the bigger joke head coaches. Seemed like a nice guy and good defensive mind. One of the worst head coaches we've ever seen. And some guys, him, Dennis Allen, like certain guys, especially defensive coordinators, have no business being a head coach. Listen, Fangio is going to go down as probably one of the best defensive coordinators of his generation. You would not want Vic Fangio to be your head coach. So you could be a great defensive coordinator, have no business running the team. They replaced him with this boy genius offensive mind in Ben Johnson. Their offensive line was a joke. They immediately sign and trade for two guards and a center who are all good. They're going to lose Keenan Allen. They draft Luther Burden, who probably would go higher if there weren't for some off the field question marks, and who's a stud. I mean, he's just been one of the better players in the SEC the last couple of years. They draft like I'm not saying he's Travis Kelsey, but like that type tight end, just in terms of great athlete, movement, route running, just a stud to go with DJ Moore, who's already on the team. So it's like the offense, they also have a tight end who they gave a contract extension to. I just don't know if it's humanly possible to add more to your offense for your young quarterback. A lot of people push back. This is the worst spot for Caleb to go. This is where quarterback careers go to die. It's like I just don't think Ryan Poles can do much more. They have given him even the mistakes they made last year by screwing it up with the offense. Oh, and they drafted Rome last year. It's crazy. I mean, the expectation, obviously, that division is going to be really hard. We know Minnesota, Green Bay, and Detroit are good. But there are no excuses for that offense, for the coach and the quarterback. There's going to be a lot of pressure on those two individuals. And at the end of the day, like Ben Johnson, people think he's good. You know, Caleb has yet to prove in the NFL he's good. So I'm fascinated to watch how this organization, who hasn't really been good, handles this pressure, which is hard. We saw the Jets last year, who had been shitty for a decade. When you've been bad, it's hard all of a sudden to be like, you should win at 10 or 11 games. And the Jets had Aaron Rodgers, and they completely got overwhelmed. And it was like, this is an embarrassment. Now, sometimes you can flip it around. Sometimes it's like, damn, these guys are actually pretty good. But I think the Bears have done everything as an organization, if you're a fan, to like make sure the offense is in position to have no excuses and have success. It's all on just the quarterback running the genius offensive coordinator's plays correctly. Chiefs drafted a bunch of linemen, obviously the offensive tackle in the first round. They drafted a couple defensive linemen tonight. Art Rooney, because when Rap Sheet came on talking about if the Steelers would take Shedeur Sanders at pick 83, he's like, Art Rooney actually just did a radio hit, and he mentioned if we do draft a quarterback, he's definitely not playing this year. So he kind of alluded to, like, you're probably not taking Shedeur Sanders. And then he hinted at, yeah, we've talked to Aaron Rodgers. We've been in contact, and all signs point to him wanting to be here. We think it'll get done soon. So we might have some Aaron Rodgers news in the next couple days. Maybe he officially signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that would make them definitely more intriguing than they are right now, given that they do not have a quarterback. I do like the running back that they took, Caleb Johnson from Iowa. And this is the thing, like there are going to be running backs taken today and even tomorrow that are going to be really good starters in the NFL. I would be stunned if the Iowa running back Caleb Johnson is not a productive player and is not, I mean, the Steelers starter and eventually be a bell cow. Like I'd expect him to be good. I know the Broncos took the UCF kid. I don't know that much about him. I know they think he's a good wide receiving running back, but the other two running backs, like I think the Patriots getting Henderson from Ohio State. That's a pretty good pick. That guy, honestly the running backs, both Ohio State guys going like essentially back to back picks, 36 and 38. Junkins went to Cleveland, who, with Nick Chubb after he got injured was never quite the same. And I think he's a free agent right now. But Junkins, who was an Ole Miss transfer, got outshined a little bit as the season went on by Henderson. But I think a lot of people in the NFL, if you just look at Junkins' body of work at Ole Miss and then even this year, people like him a lot. So both those two guys, I mean, Ohio State at one point in time had 6 guys get drafted in the top 38, and which I did the math, it was like 17% of the draft had been Ohio State players. And the 2 best players on their team, Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith, are not even draft eligible. So think about the team just dominated and won the national championship. If it wasn't for one of the worst offensive game plans in the history of the football, they wouldn't have lost to Michigan. But they just littered the top of the draft with players. And their 2 best players aren't even draft eligible. It's like tonight, as the draft goes on, it's like Another guard from Georgia, another offensive lineman from Georgia. There's another guy from Georgia. Georgia and Ohio State, it's like they just have an unlimited amount. Even Texas now, it's crazy. I haven't done the math on the second and third round. It feels like the SEC produced 70 to 75% of the draft picks through the top 100 picks. If you told me how many picks have there been, like 98, that I don't know, 68 of the 100 picks are SEC, I'd believe you. There have been 102 picks. My guess right now, and I'll look it up and we'll know tomorrow, of the 102 picks, I guess 70 are from the SEC. That seems a little high. 60, 66 are from the SEC. So essentially like 65, 64% of the draft has been the SEC. And then obviously another large percentage from the Big Ten. Other than that, I think the Raiders just taking good players. Um, Pretty powerful story about the TCU wide receiver that they drafted, whose brother had died in that car terrorist attack in New Orleans. Um, I remember at the Senior Bowl when he came off the field and his family was right there and they all started crying. I think he was Senior Bowl MVP. I think he got the game-winning touchdown. And watching some of the highlights tonight and the family, uh, that was a really touching moment. I mean, honestly, a lot of these moments of these kids with their family, with their parents, with their grandparents, people that it's one thing, obviously, people come into your life, coaches and stuff through college, but these people, whoever raised you, your tight knit, immediate family that have been in your life when the only thing you had in common with the NFL is it was a dream and you loved sports at 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 years old, whatever. And then to get that moment and getting drafted, obviously getting drafted in the first round is pretty cool. Getting drafted in the second and third round is pretty badass too. I mean, the greatest player in the history of the sport, Tom Brady, was drafted in the sixth round. So getting drafted on the second day is pretty cool, and that never gets old. Seeing those clips of GMs and coaches on the phone with them, seeing their family just erupt. I think the dude the Eagles took at the end of the second round, had a bunch of people at his house, and he stood up and he told them all to be quiet, and they turned up the TV, and then whoever's announcing the pick, I think it was Bo Allen, announces it, and the place just goes nuts. It's just a very in a world. Listen, I can be pretty cynical. I can be pretty pessimistic, like all of us. I try to be an optimistic, upbeat, positive, glass half full person. I really make a conscious effort to be like that. I try to surround myself with those type people. I think we're all more productive when we have more of a positive and optimistic spin on life than negative. But you're around long enough, you do enough deals, you're in the business world, you live long enough to lose people in your life. Like it's easy to be cynical. And there is just something refreshing and positive and cool uh, and genuine about the draft. There's some human connection, and I think that like obviously football games and the NFL season and the college football season is a lot of fun, and there's a lot of passion, and we root for our teams and root for whoever we're gambling on, and it's a sense of community that way for any of you guys that go to games, season ticket holders, whether it's college or pro. But there's just like something I think we all can relate to of like make you smile when you watch these guys, enjoy the moment. So many of these guys, the majority of them are just like really good, high level dudes that just happen to have hit the genetic lottery. And many of them, you know, obviously worked hard through college and were pushed hard at the best programs, whether it's from Ohio State or Bama or Georgia or wherever, mainly the SEC. But I just think tonight, and even into tomorrow, like that, not everyone's obviously, some guys won't even get drafted, but the opportunity to play in the NFL, such a small percentage of people, like probably many people watching or listening to this, you play high school football, and a tiny, tiny percentage of people from high school football go on to play Division 1 college football, let alone college football at all. But Division 1 college football, the cream of the crop. There are only so many kids playing, Power 4 college football or even non-Power 4 places like Boise and you know Fresno and San Diego State. Like you got to be really, really good to play at these schools. And then a small percentage of those guys. I mean, I've gone to so many pro days over the years. Most guys at pro days are not going to play in the NFL. We hype up these pro days when you go to like Ohio State pro day. Yeah, they got 6 or 7 pros, but there's another 10 guys working out at that pro day who are never going to get a phone call, who are never going to get invited to a training camp, who played at Ohio State, who might have even started at Ohio State. I might be picking the wrong school. Let's say like Minnesota or Mississippi State. Like I played in the Big Ten, I played in the SEC. I was a starter. I had a pro day. No one ever calls me. I never get the call. And I was like, I'm pretty good. I blocked a guy that's starting in the NFL. I made 7 tackles against Ohio State or Michigan, right? So it's very, very difficult. I've always said, listen, I am much more comfortable being critical during the season of coaches and front offices because you don't need to be as talented to get to those spots. Now, obviously, the best at those positions, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, Sean McVay, like those guys are elite at what they do. But there are a lot of coaches, assistants that are scam artists. Same thing with the scouting community. You can't scam your way to playing in the NFL. You just cannot because you either have it or you don't. And to get yourself there, like you have to have a body of work. And then to get there and stay, like you got to be fucking good. Now, maybe you could last as a backup quarterback and not get forced into play, but most other players, right, they rotate. So if you're not a starter, you're playing on special teams, and it's extremely difficult. So nothing but respect for all these kids. Now, I guess some of these guys you're not a kid at 25. Like, you're a kid at 20. Like, the 49ers drafted their first draft pick was 20 years old. Like, that's a kid. Tyler Shough feels like a grandpa. But very, very cool night. I enjoyed it a lot.